Hello friends, and welcome back to English EchoLingo. I'm Mike, and I am so glad you've decided to join me today. If you've ever felt like you're working so hard to learn English, studying the grammar books for hours, memorizing lists of long, complicated words, but then you open your mouth and it just feels, well, stiff, or maybe even a little robotic, then this episode is exactly what you need. We are going to strip away the stress of trying to be perfect, and instead focus on what actually makes you sound like a native speaker. Now, let's start by looking at a common mistake that almost every English learner makes at some point. There is this widespread belief that to sound like a native, you need to possess a massive vocabulary of 5-syllable words, or that you must speak at the speed of light. Many people think that sounding native is synonymous with being a grammar genius. But I want you to take a deep breath and let that idea go. It simply isn't true. Think about how you speak in your own native language. Do you walk around using formal, literary terms in your daily life? Do you focus on every single grammar rule when you're talking to a friend over coffee? Of course not. You speak in a way that is natural, relaxed, and real. And that is the secret. To speak like a native English speaker doesn't mean sounding like a textbook. It means sounding like a human being. In fact, if you listen closely to native speakers in London, New York, or Sydney, you'll notice something interesting. They aren't perfect. They make mistakes. They pause mid-sentence because they forgot what they were going to say. They use simple, short phrases. What makes them sound native isn't perfection, it's the flow. It's the rhythm of the language, and the use of real, everyday expressions that carry genuine emotion and intent. So, how do we bridge that gap? How do we move from being a student of English to being a user of English? It starts with understanding the subtle mechanics of how native speakers actually produce sound. One of the biggest differences between a textbook and real life is the use of contractions. A contraction is just a shorter way of saying two words. If you say, "I am very tired today," you sound quite formal, maybe even a bit like you're reading from a script. But if you say, "I'm very tired today," suddenly you sound more relaxed. It's quicker, it's smoother, and most importantly, it sounds like you belong in the conversation. This applies to everything. Instead of "you are," say "you're." Instead of "she is," say "she's." It's a tiny change, but the psychological impact on the listener is huge. It signals that you are comfortable with the language. Beyond just shortening words, we have to look at the music of English. English is a stress-timed language. This means we don't give every word the same amount of time or energy. We have important content words, usually nouns and verbs, that we say clearly and strongly. And then we have function words like to, for, and a that we almost hide. Listen to this. "I don't want to go there." A native speaker isn't going to pronounce every word with equal strength. They will stress don't and go. The other words are said very quickly, almost blending together. This leads us to what linguists call connected speech. When we speak fast, we don't stop between words. We slide from one into the next. "What do you think?" becomes something closer to "whatcha think?" or "what do you think?" You don't have to speak this way immediately. But recognizing these patterns is the first step to mastering the rhythm that makes English sound like music. rather than a series of clicks. But let's talk about the words themselves. Native speakers rely heavily on short, powerful phrases that do a lot of heavy lifting in a conversation. These phrases allow you to react quickly, without having to build a complex sentence in your head. For example, when you agree with a plan, you don't need to say, "I believe that is an excellent idea and I am happy to participate." Just say, "Sounds good." It's efficient and perfectly natural. If someone tells you something shocking, you say, "No way." It immediately conveys your surprise. If you want to join a group activity, "I'm in," is all you need. There's a whole library of these tools. Hang on, for when you need a moment. All set, when you're ready to go. Got it, to show you understand. When someone makes a request, a simple, "will do," is often better than a long confirmation. And one of my favorites for its honesty is, "My bad." It's a quick, humble way to say, "I made a mistake, I'm sorry." It diffuses tension instantly because it sounds human. We also use, "fair enough," when we want to show that we see the other person's point, even if we don't entirely agree. It's a very logical, calm way to keep a conversation moving. And of course, there's the classic, "no worries." It's the ultimate phrase for making everyone feel relaxed. It can mean, "You're welcome," or "It's not a problem." Or even just, "Don't mention it." As you start to use these phrases, you'll find that your confidence grows because you aren't struggling with grammar. You're using pre-made blocks of language that are guaranteed to be correct. But where do you use them? Imagine you're at a store. You don't need a long speech. "I'm just looking. Thanks," is perfect if you don't want help yet. "Do you have this in a medium?" is direct and clear. At a cafe, "Can I get a coffee to go?" or "I'll have a latte, please," are the standard ways to interact. On the phone, if the signal is bad, you don't need to explain the physics of telecommunications. Just say, "Sorry. Bad connection," or "Let me put you on speaker." The key to all of this is what I call the 3 steps of mastery. First, you have to notice. When you watch a movie or listen to a podcast, don't just listen for the story. Listen for the contractions. Listen for the "no worries" and the "sounds good." Notice where the speaker gets loud and where they get quiet. Second, you listen repeatedly. Your brain needs to hear these patterns many times before it accepts them as normal. And third, you turn them into a habit. Write these short phrases down. Say them out loud while you're making breakfast. Practice them until they feel like they belong to you. Remember, the goal of communication is connection. People don't want to talk to a dictionary, they want to talk to you. They want to feel your emotions, your reactions, and your personality. By using these natural, simple expressions, you are opening the door for a much deeper and more relaxed connection with everyone you speak to. You are doing a fantastic job. Just by being here and listening to this, you are training your ear to hear the real English that lives outside of the classroom. Don't worry about being perfect. Just focus on being real. Take 1 or 2 of the phrases we talked about today, maybe "sounds good" or "fair enough," and try to use them this week. This is Mike from English EchoLingo. I am so proud of the progress you are making. Keep listening, keep noticing, and most importantly, keep being yourself in English. I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye for now.